Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. As I'm watering the Holey clay pots today, I thought I'd look and see if any buds are bursting. I know some aren't, some haven't long finished blooming, but I thought we'd have a look and see. And this is the first one I've found that's actually bursting out of a sheath. So that's been a sheath with a lump in for some time, but obviously the buds are now starting to push. And this one's got a very long name. It is Shinfong Little Sun Young Min Golden Boy. Guess what colour that's going to be? You know I like my oranges and yellows and reds. But yeah, I mean this has bloomed before. Latest mature growth. Nice healthy big fat bulb on it. At least as big, if not slightly bigger than anything before it. And that looks like a good quantity of buds in there. I can see at least 5, and there's probably more. So that's going to be a nice show down the line. It'll take a while, but it's on its way. And this is another one. This hasn't actually split its sheath yet, but the bud is there. Yeah, so it's about to burst out. And this is a relatively new acquisition, but this is obviously one of those types of cattleyas that matures its growth, produces a sheath, in this case a very long one, which then dies back and gives you the impression, nope, I'm not going to bloom, I'm not having none of that, that's a dead sheath. And then quite a lot later, bud or buds start pushing up through the dead sheath. Now this is an exception. With a green sheath, I wouldn't dream on touching it. It's there for a reason, to protect those embryo buds until they are ready to come out into the big bad world with all its problems. However, because that's a dry sheath, I'm actually going to cut it above the buds so that they can see the air. Because I have known in the past that buds can actually get trapped because the sheaths dry up so much in our environments compared with out in the wild that they can become very woody and very reluctant to give in and let the buds out. So I will trim that one off and you know, let it see the light. It's another one with a really long name. Siang Yu Red Pearl Red Dragonfly. So in the not too distant future, although I haven't got a clue how long because this will be its first blooms, we should have some red in here, the colour that's very lacking. So coming soon, but I will just snip that off just so that it can see the air and has got somewhere to go in case this has got so stiff that it won't split. So yeah, I would only do that on that type of sheath that's gone very dead, woody and stiff. If it's still green, then leave it alone, it's there for a reason. Now that I've snipped the end off, you can distinctly, probably not very well, but just about see the green of the top of the bud showing through. So it's now got somewhere to grow on unrestricted. That's the purpose of that. I'm sorry I missed it, I just had to rush outside. We've just had 2 Eurofighters go over as a team pair and they were belting it. And looking at the angle they were heading for, they were heading off to the channel. So there's probably something a little bit naughty going down through the edge of our airspace, or maybe encroaching on it. But anyway, that had all the hallmarks of a scramble. Let's go and have a look, see what's nosing around our airspace. I missed them, they were too quick. Hell of a racket though. Anyway, slight distraction. I wish I could have caught those on film, but they weren't exceptionally low, but boy were they going quick. Dead straight line too, so they obviously had a purpose. I just wanted to have a look at this. This is a little bit odd because I don't think I've ever known Cattleya blooms last this long. This spike came out I think about 3, maybe 4 weeks after the other one that's gone now, and that would have been probably around the beginning of November, maybe middle of November, and it's not showing any signs of going yet. Fragrance is still strong, but I wanted to talk about this one because I'm going to have to deal with this quite soon now, just giving it a closer look. You can obviously see the latest growth with the blooms on is hanging over the edge of the pot, and it looks like it's going to produce 2 leads. There's a nice big bulge here and another good one here. If I let that go, they will be outside of the pot, and I already have trouble keeping this pot upright because the whole plant is all over one side of the pot and it's heavy. It's a large plant. Now I can't leave that like that. It'll be nothing but trouble for me. So it's going to have to come out of that pot, which is a bit of a problem because the majority of the roots are also out of the pot through the holes. I mean, this has got a hell of a root system in the tray outside of the pot. But nonetheless, if I leave it there, it will just cause problems. And it looks like it might even push a lead up here. There's even a possibility back here. But that's probably a dormant eye, that one. It's too far back. But you never know. Cattleyas can do some strange things for you. Yeah, there's several other eyes lurking around on this plant. It's very vigorous, this plant. But I need to deal with it because all of its new growth is going to be here, definitely, 2 leads, and possibly here. And if that lot hangs over the side of the pot, I will not be able to look after it. It's going to just keep falling over. And then it will start getting bashed around and damaged. And some of the older leaves have got quite a bit of damage on them anyway. That's not me. That was there before I got it. These are my leaves up here. Anyway, so I'm going to have to get that out of the pot. So that's going to be an interesting kitchen time. Now, I would gladly do that with those blooms on. Gladly. But what do we do with Cattleyas? We don't take any notice of this. What we take notice of is these coming out of here. And not until those new roots show. Now, I don't care if I have to support this plant while these new leads here actually start growing. But until I see those new roots there, that's not going to get done. But it will get done as soon as possibly practical, because otherwise I'm going to have a problem. My solution would be to stand that pot in a larger pot. I'm not sure I've got a suitable clay pot to do that, but then it's going to take up twice as much space for the same plant. So it's in hand, it's planned, but I can't do it now. I'm obviously going to lose quite a few roots when I do it. Those coming through the holes might thread back through, and some of them won't. But until I've got new roots, there's no way I'm touching that. It's been growing so well, the last thing I want to do is spoil it. So I'll wait for the new roots, and hopefully they won't be too long after these leads start to push. Now, these are swelling even though that growth's still got blooms on, but I doubt if they'll do much yet. I suspect once the blooms go, it will get going. And I'm just trying to remember which was the growth that had the other blooms on. I think it may have been this one. And if it was that one, following that one down, it comes down to here. So this lead is probably the next one to push here. Possibly. I've forgotten, it might have been this one. Not sure. But either way, I'm looking for new roots. Desperate for those new roots. And then I can re-establish that. Probably take the back end of the pot off. And as this is such a, I'll call it a favourite because of its fragrance, as well as it, you know, it's attractive, but it's the fragrance on this. If I cut the back end of this plant off, for once, I will try and get it to grow. Now, I don't normally bother, I just dump it because I don't want multiple plants. I've got enough space issues without doubling up on things. But I would try and get another piece of this growing if I could. It's worth it. It's worth it just for the fragrance. And the blooms, I suppose, but for this one, for me, it's the fragrance. Colours are a little washed out, you know, they could be a bit deeper, but nonetheless it's attractive and highly fragrant, so it'll be worth trying to get another piece going. But that's down the line, we'll have to wait and see. And who knows, I might take the back bit off and it still doesn't grow. But it would be worth a try on this one. Well, this one snuck up on me. I don't remember seeing those buds out of the sheath last time I looked. But nonetheless, we got two nice buds coming on this one. This plant was split a while back into two, and I know it sounds daft, but I gave away the better bit and kept the scrappy bit. But yeah, it's bloomed on every new growth since I've had it, so you can't really complain, but it's only ever produced one new lead at a time. I'm hoping this time round it may actually double up, because now it's in its Holey clay pot. It's got a much better and more established root system than it's had for a while, so maybe we get 2 leads. But anyway, got 2 nice buds swelling on that. That hasn't got a name, that's just a no ID hybrid, but it's one of those that has the big magenta type typical Cattleya blooms with a lot of purple and some yellow in the lip and that sort of stuff, so it is very attractive. So that will be coming soon. Now this is a little trick worth noting. This is a very lopsided and large plant. This is Laelia purpurata, and it had to be taken out of its pot and put back in, partly because it was a bit lopsided and partly because the new growths were going to be outside of the pot, similar to the one I discussed earlier. So it got put back in the pot in such a way that this is much easier to do if you've got a single light source, like in a home and you grow in windows and things. This plant's in training. It's being trained to grow that way. And with 2 big strong new growths heading in that direction, it sets the plant back in balance and gets some growth over that side of the plant. It's got 2 leads, so I've got 2 to work with. They're coming on nicely, and they will always point towards the glass. Now obviously I get light coming in from the top and from the other side, but I stop the light getting at this plant from the other side by blocking it with other plants, so it can only ever get filtered light. Its strongest light source is straight in through that glass, and that's where those 2 are heading for, and that should pull them over that way. So that's not a bud thing. I wish it was. This is one of these that will not bloom for me at the moment, and it looks like it's one of these that as the growths mature at the end of the season, it needs a good rest, and it didn't get it, so it didn't produce the sheaths or anything. They're all blind. They have been since I got it. I mean, once upon a time it bloomed, but before I got it. So it's not going to bloom on what I've got. So this is its hope to actually see the first blooms on this plant. And now that I know that, I can deal with it. I didn't before. You can't deal with things if you don't know them. But this was one of the ones in Rachel's book. And it just has a growth pattern that needs to be deliberately halted as the growths mature. And that's what helps it produce its sheaths, along with the bright light and other stuff. But, you know, it is that pause in growth that seems to induce the sheaths and then the buds, and then the new growth should follow on after. Well, this one's got the new growth following on after, but it's not after anything because it didn't bloom. So we'll hope to get some on there, and we hope to balance the plant up a bit better by getting it to move in a single direction. So no twisting back on yourself, you 2. You head off the way you're being told. So this plant has to go back in exactly the same place with enough shading to stop these twisting, so that they can only head in one direction, and that should balance it up a bit better. It's already having trouble because if I don't lean this, when this is dry, this would fall over, but those 2 large new growths, by the time they mature, will balance it again. Okay, finished watering the Holey clay pots now. That was all I could find that went into this video. I mean, there's others that are obviously in bud, you know, huge buds about to open, but that's not what this one was about. This was looking for buds that are just bursting out, basically. So a bit of a way down the road before we see those bloom. But nonetheless, it's worth having a look round sometimes. You can miss things. As I said, one of those Cattleyas sprung up on me with 2 quite large buds. I don't remember seeing them. They must have been there last time I watered. There's no way those buds got that big in whatever it is, 5 or 6 days. So. Anyway, I'll leave it at that for now. That was a quick look round Holey clay pots. They are in the main Cattleyas, and there's some that I saw that may have something starting, but that's not the same as actually seeing something starting, if you know what I mean. So I've left those for another time. And thanks for dropping by, and see you next time.